The stars were quiet that morning when Captain Ryan Torres stepped onto the observation deck of New Haven Colony. He held his coffee cup in both hands and watched the twin suns rise over the wheat fields his people had planted 3 years ago. The golden crops swayed in the gentle breeze, and for a moment everything felt perfect. Ryan had been a soldier once. Back on Earth, he fought in the water wars and the African conflicts. But out here, 50 light years from home, he was just a farmer trying to build something good. New Haven was one of 12 human colonies scattered across this part of space. They grew food, raised families, and sent reports back to Earth every few months. The communication system beeped softly behind him. Ryan turned and walked back to his desk. The message light was blinking red, which meant it came from outside the colony. He pressed the button and sat down. "This is Colonial Administration Ship Meridian calling all Outer Rim colonies," said a woman's voice. The signal was weak and crackling. "We have detected unknown vessels approaching human space. All colonies should prepare standard first contact procedures. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage." Ryan felt his stomach drop. First contact procedures. They had practiced this, but nobody really expected it to happen. Humans had been exploring space for 40 years and never found anyone else. The galaxy seemed empty and lonely. He pressed the colony-wide alert button. A gentle chime sounded through every building in New Haven. People would know to gather in the main hall within an hour. Ryan put on his old military jacket and walked. Outside, the colony was already buzzing with activity. Children ran between the buildings while their parents talked in worried groups. Sarah Kim, the colony's doctor, jogged up to Ryan with her medical bag bouncing on her shoulder. "Is it really happening?" she asked. "Are we meeting aliens?" "Looks like it," Ryan said. "We need to stay calm and follow the protocols. This could be the most important day in human history." 200 light years away, War Prime Zarthok stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher. He was 8 feet tall with gray skin and 4 arms that ended in clawed hands. His red eyes stared at the display screen showing the small human colony below. "These are the creatures that dare to settle in our space?" he asked his second-in-command, a snake-like alien named Seketh. "Yes, War Prime," Seketh replied. "Our scouts report 12 such settlements. The beings call themselves humans. They appear to be mammals with only 2 arms and no natural weapons." Zarthok laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Pathetic. Do they have ships?" "A few cargo vessels, and some small patrol craft. Nothing that could threaten even our oldest ships." "And they did not ask permission to settle here?" "No, War Prime. They simply arrived and began building." Zarthok's claws scratched the metal railing in front of him. For 3,000 years, the Hegemony of Kethver had ruled this part of the galaxy. 7 alien species bowed before their power. When new creatures were found, they either submitted or died. It was the natural order. "Send them our standard." "Demand," Zarthok ordered. "They will surrender immediately and accept Hegemony rule, or we will destroy them." On the bridge of the Meridian, Ambassador Sarah Chun read the alien message for the 3rd time. She was a small woman with graying hair and kind eyes. For 20 years, she had solved problems between Earth's governments. Now she faced the biggest problem humanity had ever encountered. "They want us to surrender," she said to Captain Williams, the ship's commander. "Complete submission to something called the Hegemony of Kethver. They say we have 1 day to decide." Captain Williams was a tall man with a scarred face from his days as a fighter pilot. "What if we refuse?" "They say they will destroy all human colonies and make sure our species never leaves its home system again." "Can they do it?" Sarah looked at the tactical display. 12 alien ships hung in space around the human colonies. Each one was 3 times bigger than the Meridian. "Probably," she said quietly. "So what do we do?" Sarah thought about her daughter. Back on Earth, she thought about the children playing in New Haven streets. She thought about humanity's dreams of exploring the stars and finding friends among the cosmic dark. "We try to talk to them," she said. "Maybe there's a way we can all live in peace." Sarah recorded her message carefully. She knew that every word might decide whether humanity had a future among the stars or died trying to reach them. This is Ambassador Sarah Chun of the Terran Colonial Administration, speaking for all humanity, she began. We received your message, and we want to respond with respect and honesty. She paused and looked out at the stars. We came to these worlds not to conquer or claim territory, but to build new homes for our people. Earth is crowded, and we needed room to grow. We did not know this space belonged to anyone. The recording light blinked as she continued. We seek peaceful coexistence with all intelligent life. There is room in this galaxy for many different peoples. We can share these stars, learn from each other, and build something beautiful together. Sarah's voice grew stronger. We offer trade, friendship, and mutual respect. Our technology may seem primitive to you, but we have art, music, literature, and science that might interest your people. We ask only for the chance to prove that different species can live side by side in peace. She ended the message and sent it toward the alien fleet. War-Prime Zarthok watched the human female speak her soft words about peace and friendship. His officers laughed behind him. Even Seketh's serpentine face showed amusement. Peace, Zarthok repeated the word like it tasted bad. They speak of sharing the galaxy as equals. These soft creatures with their weak bodies and gentle voices. Perhaps they do not understand the natural order, suggested Seketh. In time they could learn to serve properly. No, Zarthok's voice was firm. They are too proud. Look how? She stands and speaks as if she has the right to negotiate with her betters. This arrogance must be crushed immediately, or other species might think they can challenge us too. He turned to his communications officer. Send this message to all Hegemony worlds. Let every species see what happens to those who dare speak of equality with the Kethver. The War Prime's message spread across Hegemony space within hours. On 7 different worlds, millions of alien beings heard his words. The mammalian species called humans have revealed their true nature, Zarthok's voice boomed. They dare to speak of sharing our ancient territories. They believe their weakness should be rewarded with our respect. This insult cannot stand, he paused for effect. These soft-skinned mammals will learn submission, or they will face complete extinction. There will be no negotiation, no compromise, no mercy. They chose arrogance over wisdom. Now they will face the consequences. Back on New Haven, Ryan Torres gathered with the other colonists in the main hall. 300 people sat quietly, waiting for news. Families held each other close. Children sensed the adult fear and stayed near their parents. The communication screen flickered to life, showing Ambassador Chun's tired face. I'm sorry, she said simply. They rejected our offer of peace. They say we must surrender completely or be destroyed. They've given us 6 hours to decide. An old farmer named Pete raised his hand. What does surrender mean? Total submission. We become their slaves. Our children become their property. Humanity never explores space again. The hall was silent for a long moment. Then Maria Santos, a young mother holding her 5-year-old son, stood up. I came here so my boy could have a better life, she said. So he could grow up free under alien stars. I won't give that up without a fight. Other voices joined hers. The colonists were farmers and teachers, engineers and artists, but they were also human beings who had crossed the dark between stars to build something new. They would not surrender. That dream easily. Ryan stood and looked around the room. Ambassador Chun, what are our options? Sarah's image flickered on the screen. The Colonial Administration is sending emergency messages to Earth, but it will take months for help to arrive. Each colony has to decide for itself. Then we've already decided, Ryan said. The other colonists nodded. Tell them we choose freedom. Sarah. Chun closed her eyes for a moment. She had hoped for peace, but she understood the choice. Humanity had always been a species that fought for what it believed in. I'll send the message, she said. God help us all. The War Prime received humanity's answer with satisfaction. He had expected this response. Weak species always chose death over proper submission. It was better this way. A quick extermination would send a clear message to the galaxy. Begin the cleansing, he ordered. Start with the largest colony. Make sure the others can see what happens to those who defy the hegemony. The alien ships moved into position around New Haven, their weapons charged with deadly energy. In the colony below, Ryan Torres stood with his people and watched the stars that had seemed so beautiful that morning. Whatever happens next, he said quietly, we stood for something worth standing for. The first alien ship fired its weapon toward the colony, but something strange happened. The energy beam hit a shield that suddenly appeared around New Haven. The humans had hidden defenses they had not mentioned, Ryan smiled grimly. Ambassador Chun, he said into his communicator, you might want to tell them something else. Tell them they just made a very big mistake. The War Prime stared at his tactical display in confusion. The human colony should have been destroyed. Instead, his sensors showed energy shields and defensive systems that had not been there moments before. How is this possible? He demanded. His science officer, a crystalline being called Krexenor, studied the readings. War Prime, these humans appear to have been hiding their true capabilities. These defensive systems are quite sophisticated. For the first time in decades, Zarthok felt something he had almost forgotten, uncertainty. Perhaps these soft mammals were not as helpless as they appeared. No matter, he said, pushing down his doubts. We have superior numbers and technology. Increase firepower. Destroy them all. But as more alien ships opened fire and more human defenses came online, War Prime Zarthok began to wonder if he had misunderstood something important about these strange creatures who spoke of peace but prepared for war. The alien ships fired again and again at New Haven Colony. Each blast hit the invisible shield that protected the human settlement. War Prime Zarthok watched his weapons do nothing against the defensive barrier. His red eyes narrowed with anger and confusion. How are these primitives blocking our fire? He demanded. Science Officer Krexener studied the readings on his crystal display. War Prime, I detect energy patterns I have never seen before. Their shield technology appears to be different from anything in our databases. Different how? It adapts, War Prime. Each time we fire, the shield learns and becomes stronger against that type of attack. Zarthok's four clawed hands gripped his command chair. In 3,000 years of conquest, the Hegemony had never encountered defensive technology that improved during battle. Every species they had met used simple, predictable shields that broke under enough pressure. Then we use more pressure, he growled. All ships concentrate fire on one point. Break through their defenses. Down on New Haven, Ryan Torres stood in the colony's hidden command center deep underground. The room had been built 3 years ago when the colony was founded. But the colonists had hoped never to use it. Banks of computers and communication equipment lined the walls. The air hummed with electronic noise. Shields holding at 90%, reported Jennifer Walsh, the colony's chief engineer. She was a short woman with oil-stained hands and bright eyes behind thick glasses. The adaptive matrix is working perfectly. Ryan nodded but did not smile. How long can we hold? Against this level of attack? Maybe 6 hours, maybe less if they bring more ships. And our weapons? Jennifer's face grew grim. We have 12 missile launchers and 8 plasma cannons. Enough to hurt them, but not enough to win a real fight. Ryan had been a colonel in Earth's military before becoming a farmer. He understood numbers and tactics. New Haven could defend itself for a while, but they could not win against an entire alien fleet. They needed help, and help was very far away. Send a message to all the other colonies, he ordered. Tell them what we're facing. Tell them to prepare. On the other side of human space, Captain Maria Santos received Ryan's warning at Verdant Hills Colony. She was a former Marine who had led her people to a green world with crystal-clear rivers and purple mountains. 3,000 colonists lived there. Including her 8-year-old daughter Elena, Maria read the message twice, then called her defense team together. Unlike New Haven, Verdant Hills was not a farming colony. It was a mining operation that dug rare metals from the Purple Mountains. The miners were tough people who worked with dangerous equipment every day. Aliens are attacking New Haven, Maria announced to the 12 people in her office. They want us to surrender or die. Anyone surprised? Nobody was. Every colonist knew. This day might come. They had traveled 50 light years from Earth to build new lives, but they had not forgotten that space might be dangerous. What are our options? Asked Tom Bradley, the head of mining operations. He was a big man with arms like tree trunks and a beard that covered half his face. We fight or we run, Maria said simply. But if we run, where do we go? Earth is months away and these aliens might follow us there. Then we fight, said Tom, but we're miners, not soldiers. Maria smiled coldly. Tom, you work with explosives every day. You move mountains and break rocks. How different is breaking alien ships? The miners looked at each other and began to grin. They had not thought about their work that way before. Besides, Maria continued, we have something they probably don't expect. What's that? Asked Susan Park, the colony's communications officer. We know how to work underground. While the human colonies prepared for War Prime Zarthok received a message from the Hegemony High Command on Keth Prime, the holographic image of Supreme. Commander Vexstar appeared on his bridge. Vexstar was ancient even by Kethver standards, with scars covering his gray skin and medals hanging from his armored chest. War Prime, Vexstar's voice was like grinding stone. Explain why a simple pacification mission is taking so long. Zarthok kept his face calm, but inside he felt nervous. Supreme Commander, these humans have defensive technology we did not expect. They are proving more difficult than anticipated. Difficult? Vexstar's red eyes flashed. You command 12. Ships against primitive mammals. How difficult can they be? They adapt quickly, Supreme Commander. Their shields learn from our attacks and enough excuses, Vexstar interrupted. You have 1 day to complete this mission. If you cannot handle 12 small colonies, perhaps another War Prime should replace you. The hologram disappeared, leaving Zarthok alone with his anger and fear. He could not fail this mission. Failure meant death or worse. Seketh, he called to his second-in-command. How many ships do we have in reserve? 18 battle cruisers and 40 escort vessels. War Prime, they could be here in 6 hours. Send for them all. If these humans want to resist, we will show them what real resistance costs. Back on New Haven, the alien bombardment suddenly stopped. Ryan Terez looked up from his tactical display as the weapon impacts ceased. The colony's shields had been dropping slowly under the constant attack, down to 60% strength. Why did they stop? Asked Jennifer Walsh. Ryan studied the sensor readings. They're moving away. All 12 ships are pulling back to a safe distance. Maybe they're giving up? No, Ryan shook his head. They're waiting for something. Probably reinforcements. He was right. 6 hours later, 60 alien ships appeared in the space around. New Haven, the small human colony, was now facing a force that could destroy entire planets. War Prime. Zarthok looked at his expanded fleet with satisfaction. 60 ships was overkill for 12 primitive colonies, but he wanted to make sure there were no more surprises. Begin bombardment, he ordered. Maximum firepower. I want these mammals to understand the price of defying the Hegemony. The combined fire of 60 alien ships hit New Haven's shields like a hammer. The adaptive barriers that had held against 12 ships began to crack and spark under the massive assault. Shields failing, Jennifer called out. 40%, and dropping fast. Ryan made the hardest decision of his life. All civilians to the deep shelters. Combat teams to defensive positions. Send the final message to Earth. The message was simple. First contact failed. Under attack by superior alien force, tell our families we tried to find peace. Humanity is not alone in the universe, but we may be alone in wanting to share it. As New Haven's shields finally collapsed, the first alien energy beams struck the colony buildings. Explosions lit up the morning sky as homes and farms burned. But the aliens quickly discovered that destroying the buildings was not the same as destroying the humans. From hidden bunkers and underground tunnels, the colonists fought back. Missiles launched from concealed positions, striking alien ships. The humans had only simple weapons, but they used them with deadly skill. Captain Torres led a team of fighters through the burning streets of New Haven. They carried portable missile launchers and moved from building to building, always staying hidden from the alien sensors overhead. There, Torres pointed to an alien ship hovering low over the colony center. Susan, can you get a lock? Susan Kim, a former pilot, aimed her missile launcher at the ship's engine section. Got it, Colonel. The missile struck home, and the alien ship spun out of control before crashing into the wheat fields outside town. It was a small victory, but it felt huge to the humans fighting for their lives. One down, Torres said grimly. 59 to go. The battle raged for 3 days. The aliens destroyed most of New Haven's surface buildings, but they could not root out all the humans hiding underground. Every time an alien ship came low enough to attack the bunkers, human missiles reached up to strike back. War Prime Zarthak stared at his casualty reports with growing disbelief. His forces had lost 8 ships and damaged 15 more. Against farmers and miners with primitive weapons, how is this possible? He demanded for the 100th time. The humans fight differently than other species, reported Tactical Officer Mortek. They do not mass their forces for easy targeting. They hide, strike, and disappear. They use the terrain to their advantage and coordinate their attacks precisely. They are insects hiding in the dirt. Yes, War Prime, but insects that bite. Zarthakas' rage built until he could barely think straight. No primitive species had ever cost the Hegemony this many ships. His reputation was being destroyed by creatures that should have died in the first hour of combat. Prepare the planet killers, he ordered. His officers looked at him in shock. Planet killers were weapons so terrible that the Hegemony only used them in the most extreme circumstances. They could crack a world's crust and boil away its atmosphere. War Prime, Sekis said carefully. The High Command may question such extreme measures against a small colony. The High Command ordered me to complete this mission, Zarthak replied. I will complete it. If these humans want to hide underground, I will remove the ground. But before the planet killers could be prepared, Zarthak received an urgent message from his scouts watching the other human colonies. War Prime, the humans are evacuating their settlements. They are loading their people onto cargo ships and fleeing toward the edge of the system. Zarthak smiled coldly. Finally, the mammals were showing proper fear. Pursue and destroy them. None must escape to warn Earth. The alien ships chased the fleeing human vessels toward the system's edge. But as they reached the outer asteroid belt, the hunters became the hunted. Captain Maria Santos waited in the shadow of a large asteroid, her modified cargo ship hidden among the space rocks. Around her, 11 other human ships lay in ambush. The colonists had spent weeks preparing this trap, using mining charges to turn asteroids into weapons. Wait for it, Maria whispered into her communicator. Let them get close. The alien ships spread out to surround the fleeing human transports. They moved confidently, certain that cargo vessels could not threaten military warships. They were wrong. Now! Maria shouted. Explosions lit up the asteroid belt as mining charges detonated all around the alien fleet. Huge rocks, propelled by human explosives, smashed into alien ships like massive bullets. The surprise attack destroyed 6 vessels and crippled 8 more. But the real surprise came when the fleeing human transports turned around and opened fire. They were not cargo ships at all, but disguised warships armed with every weapon the colonies could build. This is Captain Maria Santos to all alien ships, she broadcast. You came to our homes and tried to murder our children? You wanted to see how humans fight. Now, you know. We offered you peace, but you chose war. This is what war with humanity looks like. The battle in the asteroid belt lasted 2 hours. When it was over, 30 alien ships were destroyed or too damaged to fight. The surviving aliens retreated toward the edge of the system, their confidence shattered. War Prime Zarthak stared at his tactical display in growing horror. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed by primitives using rocks and mining equipment. How could he explain this to the High Command? War Prime, his communications officer reported. We are receiving a message from the humans. On the main screen, the image of Ambassador Sarah Chun appeared, but she looked different now. Her kind eyes had turned hard, and her gentle voice carried an edge of steel. War Prime Zarthok, she began, you have seen what happens when you attack our colonies. This was just a small taste of human determination. We are still willing to discuss peace, but the terms have changed. Zarthok's claws dug into his command chair. What terms? You will withdraw all your ships from human space immediately. You will pay compensation for the damage you have caused. And you will agree to formal treaties recognizing human territory and rights. Impossible, Zarthok roared. The Hegemony does not negotiate with inferior species. Sarah Chun's smile was cold as winter. War Prime, you just lost half your fleet to farmers and miners using tools and determination. What makes? You think we are inferior? The transmission ended, leaving Zarthok alone with his rage and his failures. He had come to crush primitive mammals, but instead found warriors who fought with a skill and ferocity he had never encountered. For the first time in his life, War Prime Zarthok began to wonder if the Hegemony had chosen the wrong enemy. But his pride would not let him defeat. Not yet. He would call for more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. He would show these humans what real war looked like. He did not yet understand that they already knew. War Prime Zarthok stood before the holographic image of Supreme Commander Vexstar, trying to keep his voice steady. The old commander's scarred face showed no emotion as he listened to the battle report. Let me understand this correctly, Vexstar said slowly. You lost 30 ships to human farmers using rocks and mining tools. Supreme Commander, these humans fight unlike any species we have encountered. They use unconventional tactics and silence. Vexstar's voice cut through Zarthok's explanation like a blade. You have embarrassed the Hegemony in front of 7 species. Word is spreading that mammals with primitive weapons defeated our finest warships. Zarthok felt cold fear in his stomach. Give me more ships, Supreme Commander. I will crush these humans completely. You have already failed with 60 ships. What makes you think more vessels will help? Because this time I will not underestimate them. I will use everything we have. Total warfare. Vexstar was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Very well. You will have 200 ships, and authorization to use any methods necessary. But understand this, War Prime, if you fail again, you will face consequences worse than death. The hologram disappeared, leaving Zarthok alone with his hatred for the humans who had destroyed his reputation. Seketh, he called to his second-in-command, send orders to all Hegemony fleets. We are implementing the pacification protocol. Seketh's serpentine eyes widened. The pacification protocol was reserved for species that refused to submit after multiple warnings. It meant the complete destruction of all military targets and civilian populations. Nothing would be left alive. Are you certain, War Prime? The protocol has not been used in 800 years. These humans want war, Zarthok replied. They will have it. 3 weeks later, Admiral Elena Vasquez received the worst news of her career. She stood in the command center of Titan Station, Earth's most advanced military facility. Reading intelligence reports from the outer colonies, Elena was 55 years old with silver hair and sharp blue eyes. She had fought in every major conflict of the past 30 years, but she had never faced anything like this. The aliens were no longer content with attacking individual colonies. They were coming with everything they had. How many ships? She asked Colonel Martinez, her intelligence officer. 200 confirmed, Admiral. Possibly more. They're moving toward all 12 colonies simultaneously. Elena felt sick. Earth's entire navy had only 40 ships, and most of them were explorers, or cargo vessels, not warships. The colonies had maybe 20 armed ships between them all. What about the civilians? We've evacuated most of them, but some refuse to leave. They're hiding in deep shelters and underground cities. Elena looked at the star map showing the approaching alien fleet. 200 ships against a handful of human defenders. It should have been impossible for humanity to survive. Send a message to all colonies, she ordered. Tell them to implement Protocol 7. Colonel Martinez looked confused. Admiral, Protocol 7 is classified above my level. What does it authorize? Elena's smile was grim. It authorizes us to stop pretending we're just peaceful explorers. For 40 years, humanity had told the galaxy a simple story. Humans were traders, and farmers who wanted to explore space and build new homes. They carried light weapons for protection against pirates, but they were not a military threat to anyone. This story was not entirely true, Captain. Maria Santos stood in the underground command bunker beneath Verdant Hills Colony. Around her, 50 technicians worked at computer stations that had been hidden since the colony was founded. The screens showed weapon systems and ship designs that no alien had ever seen. Stealth ships are in position, reported her tactical officer. The aliens still don't know they're there, Maria nodded. The Hegemony thought they were attacking helpless farming colonies. They had no idea that humanity had been building a secret defense network for decades. Every colony had hidden weapons and underground factories. Every cargo ship could be converted to a warship in hours. What about the special packages? Maria asked. Deployed around all major alien ships. They won't detect them until it's too late. The special packages were humanity's deepest secret. Small devices that could attach to enemy ships without being noticed. Once activated, they could do terrible things to alien technology. Signal all colonies, Maria ordered. Begin Phase 1 of the revelation. War Prime Zarthok watched his fleet approach the human colonies with satisfaction. 200 ships moved through space like an unstoppable force of destruction. Each alien vessel was 3 times larger than anything humanity possessed. Victory was certain. Begin bombardment of all civilian targets, he ordered. I want these mammals to watch their homes burn before they die. The alien ships opened fire on the human colonies. Energy beams and missiles rained down on farms, schools, and hospitals. On 3 different worlds, human settlements burst into flames, but something was wrong. Zarthok's tactical display showed explosions, but the damage patterns were strange. The humans seemed to be losing important buildings, but their defensive positions remained intact. Science officer, he called to Krexenor. Are you detecting any unusual energy signatures? Yes, War Prime. There are massive power sources beneath. Each colony, much larger than anything we detected before. How is that possible? Unknown, War Prime. The humans appear to have been hiding their true infrastructure. On New Olympia Colony, the largest human settlement, something incredible was happening. The colony's surface burned under alien fire, but beneath the ground, massive doors were opening. From underground hangars, sleek black ships rose into the sky. These were not cargo vessels or mining ships. They were pure warships, built in secret and hidden for years. Each one carried weapons designed specifically to fight the kind of aliens now attacking human space. This is Admiral Elena Vasquez to all human forces, came a broadcast on military frequencies. Operation Revelation is now active. Show them what we really are. The hidden human fleet struck like lightning. Stealth ships that had been following the alien fleet for days suddenly appeared and opened fire. The aliens had not known they were being hunted. War-Prime Zarthok watched in horror as 20 of his ships exploded in the first minute of combat. The human vessels moved like ghosts, appearing from nowhere to strike and then vanishing again. How many ships do they have? He demanded. Unknown, War Prime. Our sensors cannot track them effectively? They appear to use some form of stealth. Technology we have never encountered. Impossible! Our intelligence said they had less than 20 armed vessels. Our intelligence was wrong, War Prime. The battle quickly turned into a nightmare for the Hegemony forces. Human ships attacked from every direction using weapons the aliens had never seen. Some fired beams that turned alien shields against their own ships. Others launched missiles that could think for themselves and adapt to enemy defenses, but the worst surprise came when the special packages that Maria Santos had mentioned activated all at once. Throughout the alien fleet, small devices that had attached to ship hulls during previous battles suddenly came to life. They sent signals directly into alien computer systems, turning the ship's own weapons against each other. "War Prime!" Tactical Officer Mortek shouted in panic. "Our ships are firing on each other. I cannot control the weapons." Zarthok watched his fleet tear itself apart as human computer viruses spread through Hegemony systems. Ships that had never been damaged by enemy fire were destroying their own allies. How are they doing this? The humans must have placed infiltration devices on our ships during previous encounters. They have been planning this for weeks. In less than an hour, the mighty Hegemony fleet was reduced to burning wreckage floating in space. Only 30 alien ships survived, and most of those were too damaged to fight. Admiral Elena Vasquez appeared on every surviving alien ship's communication system. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with cold fury. "War Prime Zarthok," she said, "you have made a serious mistake. You attacked our civilians. You burned our homes and tried to murder our children. We offered you peace, but you chose war instead." Zarthok tried to speak, but Elena continued without pause. "For 40 years, we have traveled the galaxy as peaceful explorers. We built farms and schools because we wanted to create, not destroy. But you have reminded us of something we had almost forgotten." The image on the screen changed to show massive construction yards hidden in asteroid belts throughout human space. Thousands of ships were being built, each one larger and more dangerous than anything the aliens had yet seen. "We are very good at war," Elena said quietly. "We fought each other for thousands of years before we reached the stars. We learned to turn anything into a weapon and anyone into a soldier. We hope never to use those skills again." She paused and looked directly at Zarthok through the camera. "You have changed our minds? From this moment forward, humanity is at war with the hegemony of Kethver. We will not stop until your military is destroyed and your people understand the price of threatening innocent civilians." "Wait," Zarthok finally managed to speak. "We can negotiate. Perhaps terms can be—" "No," Elena's voice was like ice. "You had your chance for negotiation. You could have accepted our offer of peaceful coexistence. Instead, you chose to attack our families." The screen changed again to show the burned ruins of human colonies where children had died in alien attacks. "Every human child you killed, every home you destroyed, every life you took, we remember all of it. And we are coming for you." The transmission ended, leaving Zarthok alone with the wreckage of his fleet and the knowledge that he had awakened something terrible. On Earth, the news of the alien attacks spread quickly. For the first time in 40 years, humanity began to prepare for total war. Factories that had built cargo ships started producing warships. Scientists who had studied peaceful technologies turned their minds to weapons of destruction. Dr. James Wright, head of human military research, stood before the Global Defense Council with a presentation that would change everything. "Members of the Council," he began, "the alien attacks have forced us to reveal capabilities we hoped never to use. But we have learned something important about our enemies." The presentation screen showed detailed scans of captured alien technology. The Hegemony has superior individual ship technology, but they are not innovative. They have been using the same weapons and tactics for thousands of years. They expect their enemies to fight in predictable ways. Council President Sarah Kim leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, Doctor?" "I'm suggesting that we give them a war unlike anything they have ever seen. We will not fight their ships with our ships in traditional battles. We will fight them with methods they cannot predict or counter." Dr. Wright's smile was cold. "We will show them why humans became the dominant species on a planet full of predators. We will hunt them." Across human space, the revelation continued. Hidden facilities came online, secret weapons were deployed, and civilian volunteers joined military units. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest lie was not about their peaceful nature. It was about their true strength. War Prime Zarthok limped back toward Hegemony space with the survivors of his fleet. He had failed completely, but worse than that, he had learned the terrible truth about humanity. They were not primitive farmers who happened to be good at fighting. They were apex predators who had chosen to be farmers until someone forced them to remember what they really were. And now they were coming for the hegemony with 4 decades of suppressed military innovation and a burning desire for revenge. The galaxy was about to discover why humans had never found any other intelligent life during their years of exploration. They had been looking in the wrong places. Intelligence life had been hiding from them. General Marcus Thompson stood in the ruins of what had once been a human school on New Terra Colony. The classroom walls were blackened from alien fire, and tiny desks lay scattered across the floor like broken toys. In the corner he found a child's drawing of a rocket ship flying to the stars. Marcus was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his hands from 30 years of military service. He had fought in Earth's last wars before humanity reached the stars. Now, at age 60, he was fighting again, but this time the enemy came from space. How many? He asked Colonel Patricia Lee, his second-in-command. 347. Civilians dead on New Terra alone? Patricia replied. Her voice was steady, but Marcus could see the anger in her eyes. Most of them were children and elderly people who couldn't reach the shelters in time. Marcus picked up the child's drawing and studied the smiling stick figures standing next. To the rocket? The little artist had drawn Earth and several colony worlds, all connected by dotted lines representing the paths between stars. It was a picture of hope and dreams, now surrounded by death and destruction. What about the other colonies? Similar numbers? The aliens targeted civilian areas specifically. They wanted to break our spirit. Marcus folded the drawing carefully and put it in his jacket pocket. They succeeded in breaking something, he said quietly, but it wasn't our spirit. 3 days later, General Thompson led the first major human counterattack against the hegemony. His fleet consisted of 60 ships that looked nothing like the vessels the aliens had seen before. These were not converted cargo ships or hidden defense platforms. They were pure instruments of war, built in secret and designed for one purpose: to hunt alien vessels. The human ships moved through space like sharks through dark water. Their hulls were black and angular, designed to absorb sensor signals rather than reflect them. Each vessel carried weapons that had been developed in underground laboratories for 40 years but never tested in real combat. Until now, War Prime Zarthok received the alert while his damaged fleet limped toward the nearest hegemony outpost. The communication officer's voice was filled with panic. War Prime, we are detecting human ships approaching our position. 60 vessels on an intercept course. Zarthok felt his stomach turn cold. After the disaster at the human colonies, he had only 30 ships left, and most of those were damaged. He could not fight 60 human vessels. How did they find us? We are traveling through empty space. Unknown, War Prime. Our sensors show no pursuit until they appeared on long-range detection. Science Officer Krexenar studied his crystal displays with growing alarm. War Prime, these human ships are different from the ones we encountered before. They appear to be purpose-built for warfare. What do you mean? I mean they are not converted civilian vessels. These are military ships designed from the beginning to kill other ships. Zarthok stared at the tactical display showing the approaching human fleet. Each ship was smaller than his remaining vessels, but they moved with deadly purpose. No wasted motion, no hesitation. They came forward like a pack of hunting animals that had found wounded prey. All ships, prepare for combat, he ordered. We will show these mammals that the hegemony does not flee from inferior species. But as the battle began, Zarthok quickly learned that these humans fought with skills he had never encountered. They did not charge forward in straight lines like civilized warriors. Instead, they split into small groups and attacked from multiple directions at once. The human ships moved like dancers, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted effectively. When the aliens fired their weapons, the human vessels seemed to know where the shots would go before they were fired. They twisted and turned through space, avoiding death by inches while returning fire with devastating accuracy. They fight like wild animals, Tactical Officer Mortek reported in amazement. No formation, no discipline, no honor. But they are winning, Zarthok replied grimly as another of his ships exploded under human fire. General Thompson watched the battle from the bridge of his flagship, the UHS Retribution. Around him, human officers coordinated the attack with calm efficiency. They had trained for this kind of fight for decades, practicing against computer simulations of alien technology. "Target their engines first," Thompson ordered. "I want prisoners." "For questioning." "Sir," asked Captain Jennifer Walsh, who had survived the defense of New Haven and joined Thompson's fleet, "why disable them? Wouldn't it be easier to destroy them completely?" Thompson's smile was cold. "Because dead aliens can't tell their friends what happened here. But survivors can carry a message back to their leaders. The battle lasted only 30 minutes. When it was over, half the alien ships were destroyed and the rest were crippled beyond repair. The human fleet had lost no vessels and suffered only minor damage. As human boarding parties secured the disabled alien ships, General Thompson recorded a message for any survivors. "I am General Marcus Thompson of the Human Defense Force," he began. "You attacked our colonies and murdered our children. You thought we were weak because we offered you peace. You were wrong." He held up the child's drawing he had found in the ruins of New Terra. This was made by a little girl named Amy. She was 7 years old and dreamed of flying to the stars. Your ships killed her 3 days ago while she was hiding in a school shelter. Thompson's voice grew harder. Amy and the other children you murdered will never grow up to explore the galaxy. They will never have families or build new worlds. You took that away from them. He paused and looked directly into the camera. Now we are going to take something away from you. We are coming for your fleets, your bases, and your worlds. We are going to hunt you across the galaxy until you understand that there are consequences for murdering human children. The message was transmitted to every surviving alien ship before the humans, destroyed their communication systems, and left them drifting in space. It would take days for rescue vessels to find them, and when they did, the survivors would carry Thompson's words back to the Hegemony on Keth Prime. The capital world of the Hegemony. Supreme Commander Vexstar received reports of the human counterattack with growing disbelief. In 1 week, the mammals had destroyed more Hegemony ships than any enemy in the past century. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his war council. "They are primitives with simple technology." Admiral Vekmore, commander of the Hegemony's Third Fleet, studied the battle reports with professional interest. Unlike many of his colleagues, he was not blinded by arrogance or prejudice. He looked at facts and drew logical conclusions. "Supreme Commander," he said carefully, "I believe our assessment of human capabilities was incorrect." "Explain." "These humans are not primitives. They have been deliberately hiding their true military strength for decades. Every battle shows sophisticated tactics and advanced weapons we have never seen before." "You think they have been planning this war for years?" "I think they have been planning for the possibility of war since they first left their homeworld. They appear to be a species that prepares for conflict even while hoping for peace." Vexstar's scarred face showed confusion. "But why hide there?" "Strength? Strong species display their power to avoid conflict." "Perhaps," Admiral Vekmore replied, "they understand something we do not about the nature of strength." While the Hegemony struggled to understand their new enemies, the human war machine continued to awaken across dozens of star systems. Ships that had been disguised as cargo haulers revealed hidden weapon systems. Mining stations in asteroid belts turned out to be fortress bases with enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. On Earth, Dr. James Wright worked around the clock in laboratories deep beneath the planet's surface. His team was developing weapons specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in alien technology that they had discovered during the recent battles. "The Hegemony ships use quantum resonance shields," he explained to Admiral Elena Vasquez during a video conference. They're very effective against energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. But, Elena prompted, but they have a critical flaw. The shields maintain stability through harmonic frequencies. If we can disrupt those frequencies, the shields collapse. More than that, the disruption feedback destroys the ship's main power systems. One shot from our new frequency disruptors will leave their vessels completely helpless. Elena smiled grimly. How long until we can deploy these weapons? The first batch will be ready in 2 weeks. We can retrofit existing ships with the new systems in a matter of days. Do it, and Doctor, make sure every shot counts. We want the aliens to understand that their technological advantages are gone. Captain Maria Santos received her new orders. While patrolling the outer system of Verdant Hills, her ship, now openly displaying its military configuration, was part of a hunting pack assigned to track down alien reconnaissance vessels. We've detected 3 Hegemony scouts approaching the Tau Ceti system. Admiral Vasquez's voice came through the secure communication channel. Intercept and destroy. Leave no survivors. Understood, Admiral. What about prisoners for intelligence? Gathering? Negative. These are recon ships gathering information for future attacks. We can't let them report back on our defensive positions. Maria acknowledged the orders and turned to her crew. You heard the Admiral? We have 3 alien ships to hunt? Let's show them what happens when they enter human space uninvited. The hunt that followed would become a textbook example of human tactical innovation. Maria's ships did not attack the alien scouts directly. Instead, they herded them like wolves driving prey, using precise shots to force the aliens toward a predetermined location. The alien scouts thought they were escaping when they reached the edge of the star system. They were wrong. Maria had driven them directly into a trap. Hidden among the asteroids at the system's edge, a human weapons platform waited. It was disguised as space debris, invisible to alien sensors until the moment it activated. The platform fired once with Dr. Wright's new frequency disruptor. All 3 alien ships died in the same instant as their shields collapsed and their power systems overloaded. The attack was so sudden and complete that the aliens never had time to send a distress signal. Clean sweep, Maria reported to her crew. No survivors, no evidence, no intelligence leak. Similar hunts were taking place throughout human space. As Admiral Vasquez implemented her new strategy, rather than defending fixed positions, human forces were hunting alien ships wherever they could be found. The Hegemony was learning that entering human territory meant death. But the psychological warfare was just as important as the physical destruction. Each alien ship that vanished without explanation spread fear through the Hegemony fleets. Crews began to refuse assignments to human space. Officers requested transfers to safer postings. War Prime Zarthok, now commanding what remained of the Hegemony's expeditionary force, found himself facing a military crisis he did not understand. His ships were being picked off one by an enemy that struck without warning and left. No traces. We have lost contact with 17 ships in the past week, reported Seketh during their daily briefing. All were on routine patrol or reconnaissance missions. Any survivors? Any distress signals? None, War Prime. The ships simply disappear. Zarthok felt fear growing in his chest like a cold tumor. This was not how warfare was supposed to work. Civilized species fought formal battles with clear rules and predictable outcomes. These humans fought like ghosts and demons, striking from darkness and vanishing before retaliation was possible. What do our allies report? The other Hegemony species are beginning to question this war, War Prime. They ask why we are fighting. Mammals who seem more dangerous than any enemy we have faced in centuries. And what do you tell them? I tell them that retreat is impossible. The humans have made it clear that this war will end with either our complete victory or our total destruction. Zarthok nodded grimly. The humans had indeed made their intentions clear through their actions if not their words. They were not fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting for revenge, and they would not stop until every alien who had participated in the attack on their colonies was dead. For the first time in his long military career, War Prime Zarthok began to wonder if the Hegemony had started a war they could not win. The humans were teaching them that there was a difference between being strong and being deadly. The Hegemony was strong, but humanity was proving to be something far more dangerous. They were predators who had learned to hunt among the stars. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the UHS Nemesis, humanity's largest warship, and watched the blue-green world of Keth Prime slowly rotate beneath her fleet. After 6 months of hunting alien ships across the galaxy, the human armada had finally reached the heart of the Hegemony around Keth Prime. 300 human warships hung in space like dark angels of judgment. Each vessel bore the names of murdered colonies and fallen defenders. Remember New Terra? Never forget Children's Vengeance, Amy's Dream. The names reminded everyone why they had come so far from home. Admiral, reported Captain Torres, who had survived the siege of New Haven and now commanded one of Elena's battle groups. Our long-range sensors show the remaining Hegemony fleet taking defensive positions around the planet. How many ships? 87 vessels, Admiral. Everything they have left. Elena nodded grimly. The Hegemony had started this war with over 400 ships spread across 7 star systems. Now they were down to fewer than 90 vessels, all gathered around their capital world in a desperate last stand. The 6 months of war had been a masterclass in human military efficiency. While the aliens tried to fight traditional battles with clear formations and predictable tactics, humanity had waged a campaign of terror that struck fear into every alien heart. Human ships appeared from nowhere to destroy supply convoys. Alien bases found their defense systems turned against them by computer viruses. Hegemony commanders discovered that their own officers had been replaced by human operatives using advanced disguise technology, but the psychological warfare had been even more effective than the physical attacks. Humanity had broadcast the names and pictures of every murdered colonist to every alien world. They had shown images of burned schools and destroyed homes. They had made it clear that this was not a war for territory or resources, but a war for justice. Signal the Hegemony fleet, Elena ordered. Tell them I want to speak with their Supreme Commander. A few minutes later, the holographic image of Supreme Commander Vexstar appeared on the Nemesis's main screen. The old alien looked much older than he had 6 months ago. His scarred face was drawn with exhaustion, and his red eyes held a haunted quality that spoke of too many sleepless nights. Admiral Vasquez, Vexstar's voice was hoarse with fatigue. I assume you have come to demand our surrender. No, Elena replied calmly. I have come to offer you a choice. What kind of choice? Elena gestured toward the display screen, which showed detailed images of the human fleet surrounding Keth Prime. You can surrender your entire civilization to face trial for war crimes, or you can fight to the last ship and watch your capital world burn. Vexstar's eyes flashed with anger. Those are not choices, they are different forms of defeat. Yes, Elena agreed. They are. You lost the right to victory when you chose to murder our children instead of accepting our offer of peace. The alien commander was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was bitter. We underestimated you. You did more than that. You ignored every warning we gave you. We offered friendship, and you demanded slavery. We offered coexistence, and you chose genocide. We offered you peace, and you brought us war. Elena's voice grew harder. Now you will receive exactly what you chose to give us. The only question is whether your people die quickly or slowly. And if we surrender, what then? Complete disbanding of your military forces. War crimes trials for everyone who participated in attacks on civilian targets. Reparations to be paid to the families of your victims. And permanent monitoring to ensure you never again pose a threat to peaceful species. You would break up the Hegemony? The Hegemony broke itself when it chose to become a threat to innocent people. We are simply cleaning up the mess you made. Vexstar closed his eyes. I need time to consult with the other species leaders. You have 1 hour, Elena replied. After that, we begin our final attack. The transmission ended, leaving Elena alone with her thoughts and the weight of humanity's decision. She had not wanted this war, but the aliens had forced it upon her people. Now she would finish it, no matter the cost. On Keth Prime, panic spread through the alien population as news of the human ultimatum reached the street. For 3,000 years, the hegemony had been the dominant power in this part of the galaxy. The idea of surrender to a species they had dismissed as primitives was almost impossible to accept. In the High Command Center, Vexstar met with the leaders of the 7 hegemony species. Each alien face showed different reactions to the human demands, but all shared the same underlying fear. "This is madness," declared Admiral Vekmer of the Kethver fleet. "We still have nearly 90 ships. We can make them pay dearly for their victory. And then what?" asked Counselor Murden of the Aquatic Flux High. "They will still win, and more of our people will die. The humans have shown they do not fight for conquest. They fight for extermination." War Prime Zarthok, who had started this disaster with his attack on the human colonies, sat silently in the corner. His military career was over, and he knew it. But more than that, he had come to understand something terrible about the species. He had awakened. "The humans are not like us," he said quietly. "We fight for power and territory. They fight for their children and their future. There is no force in the universe more dangerous than a parent protecting their young." "You think we should surrender?" asked Vexstar. "I think we should have surrendered 6 months ago," Zarthok replied. "Every day we continue this war, more of our people die for my mistake." The debate continued for 45 minutes. Some wanted to fight to the death rather than accept the humiliation of surrender. Others argued that survival was more important than pride. In the end, it was a message from the planet's surface that decided the issue. Supreme Commander reported. "The Planetary Defense Coordinator, we are receiving surrender requests from major population centers. The civilian leaders are demanding we accept the human terms." Vexstar looked around the room at his fellow commanders. He saw fear, anger, and resignation, but no hope. The hegemony was finished, whether they fought or surrendered. At least surrender would save lives. "Signal the human fleet," he ordered. "Tell them we accept their terms." Admiral Elena Vasquez received the alien surrender with no satisfaction. Too many humans had died to make this moment feel like a victory. She thought of the children who would never grow up, the families destroyed, the dreams burned to ash by alien weapons. "Admiral," Captain Torres asked quietly, "what are your orders?" Elena looked at the alien fleet hanging defensively around their world. Even in surrender, some part of her wanted to destroy them all. It would be justice for the murdered colonists. It would ensure the aliens never again threatened innocent people, but it would also make humanity into the very thing they had fought against. "Signal all human ships," she ordered. "The aliens have surrendered. We will accept custody of their military commanders for trial. Their ships will be dismantled and their weapons destroyed, but there will be no massacre." "Admiral," asked General Thompson, who had joined the fleet for the final battle, "some of the crew are asking why we don't just finish them, after what they did to our people. Elena understood the question. She felt the same anger burning in her chest, but she also understood something else. "Because," she said slowly, "the moment we become like them is the moment we lose everything we fought to protect." The surrender ceremony took place on the surface of Keth Prime in the aliens' capital city. Billions of alien beings watched as their leaders formally disbanded the hegemony and accepted human terms for peace. War Prime Zarthok was among the first to be arrested for war crimes. As human soldiers led him away, he stopped and spoke to Admiral Vasquez. "I have a question," he said. "Why did you not destroy our worlds? You had the power. You had the justification." Elena looked at the alien who had started the war by attacking New Haven. "Because we are not you," she replied simply. "We fight to protect, not to destroy. But you could have ended the threat to your people permanently. The threat was never your ships or your weapons," Elena explained. "The threat was your willingness to murder innocents to get what you wanted. We have ended that threat." Your military is disbanded, your weapons are gone, and the galaxy is watching to make sure you never rebuild them? Zarthok nodded slowly. You have won more than a war. You have won the right to judge us. We never wanted that right, Elena replied. You forced it on us. In the months that followed, humanity established monitoring stations throughout former Hegemony space. The alien species were allowed to govern themselves, but their military capabilities were strictly limited. War crimes trials were held for those responsible for attacks on civilian targets. The 7 species of the former Hegemony were required to learn human history, particularly the stories of the colonies that had been attacked. They studied the lives of the children who had died and the dreams that had been destroyed. Some aliens resented the new order, but many came to understand why humanity had fought so fiercely. When you threatened a human child, you threatened everything humans believed in. Dr. James Wright established research stations where human and alien scientists worked together on peaceful projects. Former enemies learned to cooperate on technology for healing rather than killing. Captain Maria Santos returned to Verdant Hills Colony, which had been rebuilt with new schools and homes. Children played in the Purple Mountains again, but now they knew their safety was protected by the most effective military force the galaxy had ever seen. Will there be peace now? Asked her daughter Elena during dinner one evening. Maria looked out the window at the stars. Human patrol ships moved silently through space, watching for any threat to the colonies they protected. Yes, she said. There will be peace. Not because everyone wants it, but because everyone understands the cost of breaking it. The galaxy had learned humanity's most important lesson. Peace was not maintained by the weak hoping the strong would be merciful. Peace was maintained by making sure that anyone who threatened innocence would face consequences they could not survive. 5 years after the war ended, Ambassador Sarah Chun stood before the Galactic Council as representatives from 47 species signed the new covenant. The document established rules for contact between species and protections for civilian populations. Let this be remembered, Sarah said as she added humanity's signature to the treaty. We offered our enemies peace, friendship, and shared prosperity among the stars. They chose to answer with violence against our children. She looked around the room at aliens from dozens of worlds, all of whom had learned about the war and its aftermath. Humanity's message echoes across the stars. We would rather build than destroy, create rather than conquer, heal rather than harm. We want to share the galaxy with friends and partners, learning from each other and building something beautiful together. Her voice grew firm. But if you force us to choose between your aggression and our survival, if you threaten our families and attack our children, we will choose your annihilation every single time. The treaty was ratified unanimously. In the years that followed, humanity became known throughout the galaxy not as conquerors or destroyers, but as the species that had proven the ultimate truth about strength. The strongest warriors were those who fought only when they had no choice, who showed mercy to the defeated, and who built peace from the ashes of their enemies. Mistakes? Humanity had wanted to explore the stars and make friends among the cosmic dark. When they were forced to become something else, they had done so with a terrible efficiency that ensured no one would ever again mistake their kindness for weakness. The galaxy was at peace, not because all species were good, but because all species understood what happened to those who chose to be evil in humanity's presence. And in that peace, human children grew up safe under alien stars, free to dream of the wonders still waiting to be discovered in the infinite dark.